November 16th, 2024, Saturday, I think. Wearing my little hammer. Started wearing my hammer back in March. Yes, it just says I created my own religion, I suppose, or my own philosophical understanding of reality. I guess by wearing this symbol, I'm saying to anyone who is interested in knowing that I'm willing to talk about politics, religion, philosophy, and go at the heart of the deepest questions that I'm aware of about what we are, who we are, what's going on with God, all the deep stuff. I essentially come out of the Roman Catholic tradition. My mother was Catholic. I was baptized as an infant Catholic. But when I had Jewish friends growing up, and I remember one of my Jewish friends when I was like 13 years old saying something to me like, "Is the Pope Catholic?" I didn't even know that the Pope was Catholic, so that's how stupid I was. I would get really into religion as I got older, and I experienced a lot of wonderful things in religion. I also think I experienced some things that were false and not good. And in the end, here I am, a 54-year-old man. I was born in Lankenau Hospital outside of Philadelphia 54 years ago. And I'm still trying to piece together the nature of reality. I've come to really deep conclusions. I got 38, 39 hours of YouTube videos up that are horrible. I stutter. I never edited anything. I'm sure I've said some things I shouldn't have said. But I made a promise to my son that I would never take them down, because that was one of my biggest reasons why I did it. You know, I have 2 sons, and how I wish my father had left a record for me of the things that he believed, and so that I could have understood my father better. So where am I at with everything? So wearing the hammer. What does it mean for me to wear the hammer? It means that I want to practice and follow the most true religion, the true religion. I want to practice and follow and implement the best possible set of political beliefs. And I want to have the best possible philosophical outlook with regards to life and with regards to everything as I possibly can. There are obviously some limitations to this. My brain, I suppose, is finite. And boy, I studied infinity for the first time in a book called The Emperor's New Mind by Roger Penrose when I was 16, 17 years old. I mean, the book has a 1987 copyright, so I guess it was in 1989 that I studied it for the first time. And he talked about like Cantor's diagonalization argument and the idea of levels to infinity, different cardinalities of infinity, Aleph null, Aleph 1, and etc. Like the lowest level in infinity is the infinity of the counting numbers. Well, anyway, I once heard a theology professor talk about this concept of degrees infinity and related it to God stuff. I remember talking to a math professor about that once, I think, and the math professor said, God is not in those axioms. So it's really interesting that you could think all kinds of stuff about the mathematical concepts of infinity. And honestly, those concepts, in a way, have absolutely no application to theology. I disagree. I think they probably do, because there's a lot of interesting analogies you could draw. All right. So one of the biggest issues that we come to terms with is, if God exists and he's all powerful and all loving, why is there so much evil in this world? Why is there so much pain and suffering? And my answers to those questions, I've went into really detail about that. I think in that video where I call Across the Godiverse, the basic idea that God knows everything that can be known. He doesn't know the future. He never knew that we were going to come into existence in the first place. And he has decided not to shut this world off. He might at any second, but he just lets it keep on going. He doesn't withhold time from it, and he's letting it play itself out, I guess, with a certain level of anxiety. Or can God experience anxiety? That's an interesting thought. But God experiences a certain level of, I don't know if I like these guys. I don't know if I like this world. It's so beautiful in so many ways, but in other ways it's not so good. And you got to think about this in terms of parallel universes. Think about all the different worlds that God can make where he doesn't know what happens in them. The only way he finds out what happens is to play them out. And if they have any issue of randomness involved, then he can play the same universe out with the same original initial conditions, and it might have different outcomes every time he runs it. The simulation, right? Surely, I think, like a statistician, and the tools I have in my mind, mathematical tools that I have in mind, scientific tools that I have in my mind, I reach for those tools when I think about God. I don't think that that's bad, but I do have to be self-reflective and realize that there might be a problem with doing all of that. It was 5 years ago where I accept this challenge that I made for myself. And the challenge was write a single one-page document that says everything that I actually believe. The best approximation of everything that I actually believe on a one single-sided piece of paper. And you could say things like, I believe that there's a 1/6 chance when I roll dice I get a 4. You could say that, but you only have one page, and so you have to say things that are the most important things. There might be many things you believe you can't write down because it's just not relevant. You can't, it's not so important. So you have to prioritize that set of beliefs. And, in light of all the conflicting religions that we have in this world, I ultimately came to this opinion that I can hear the silence of God. He doesn't talk to anybody ever. No prayers are ever answered. No, prayer doesn't even help. It doesn't do anything. All prayer is deeply thinking. That's all prayer is. God never communicates to anyone. And all I can do is say that out loud, internalize that, and then look at the world as clearly as I can and say, is it true that God never communicates to anyone? And it's like, yeah, it is true. And I have so many arguments that I've blabbled in my horrible YouTube videos about the reason why I think that. I would love to engage anyone who's interested in a conversation about that. That does not mean that God does not exist, and that does not mean that he isn't all-loving. Doesn't mean that. But he doesn't communicate to anyone because, one logical reason why, as I just love this idea, that if God actually reached in and touched a particular emergent world, one that's coming into existence from some initial condition and flowing forward with time, expanding outwards like we visualize in the Big Bang Theory, the moment God reaches in the world and touches the world and makes something different, then he, in his all-knowingness, there would then be two branches of reality, the one where he's touched it and the one where he hasn't. And so both of those worlds would continue existing, at least in God's mind, God's imagination. Does God have a mind? Does God have imagination? I mean, I guess, what do I know? I don't even know if God's there. I am ultimately an agnostic. I'm unsure about the existence of God, but like I said repetitively so many times in the past, I hold to the belief that he is there and that he does care about us. And that when you die, he obviously can recreate you and many copies of you if you wanted to, but I don't think he'd probably do that. It's just a guess because of all lovingness would suggest that maybe he wouldn't make multiple copies. And he can put you in in a non-emergent world, one that he does touch it, one where things are a lot better, where we don't have to suffer so much or kill to survive or, all the things that we have to do in this crazy world that he's looking at. Again, I think he's just looking at it and wondering what the hell is going to happen. I mean, he might have so many other worlds like it where he's not sure. Ones where the things that happen in that world are not interesting to him, ugly or bad, and he just turns them off. The power of time is God's fundamental power to set what appears to be a three-dimensional reality, it might be 10-dimensional, a three-dimensional reality into place, and then that one dimension of time that pushes things into existence, and that, I think, is his fundamental power. I mean, you could come to all these great understandings about God, and he's like, but did you take care of your mom? Did you take care of your kids? Did you do the things that you should have done with your life? You could come to all these great understandings and be like, oh my God, no, I didn't do the things that I needed to do for other people. And God's going to be like, put you in this non-emergent world that isn't as much fun as it could have been. Of course, talking about hell, but it's like, I mean, take another look at reality. Maybe this reality is there's like an Archangel Michael, a good spirit that can influence our minds, and there's this evil spirit that can influence our minds. And that the whole world is a spiritual warfare battle between these two beings, with God, mostly on the side of the good guy, but whatever, and he's watching to see what transpires. And you can try to look at the world from that perspective, and you're going to find a lot of confirmation for it. You're going to be like, yeah, that seems right. Yeah, that might be the way the world works. Maybe so. But every time I try to look at the world from that perspective, I find many very good alternative explanations for what I'm observing. And ultimately, I conclude that that's just fantasy. Why not 3 gods? Why not 10? Why not a whole pantheon? Why not this? Why not that? Why not the teapot, the teapot that's just circling the earth? But, in response to that idea, why God at all? And it's like, okay. So I know we exist. What do I actually know? I know we exist. I know this creation appears to exist. There's this thing, it might be an illusion, surely, but this model I have in my mind for understanding this reality, this thing called time, the 3 dimensions. And then the theory, you would think like everything that you have inside of you and everything that you have in your memories is a God-given gift. I don't think that's true. Our existence is a God-given gift, but everything else about us is a product of survival, of the theory of evolution and selection. So I believe that to be true. And so consequently, if I'm disgusted by something, it doesn't mean I should be disgusted by something. If I'm happy about something, I'm so happy that this person, got hurt. Should I be happy about it? I mean, it's like no and no and no. But why are sometimes people find it funny when somebody gets hurt in an accident or something like that? Because they did something stupid and they got hurt in an accident. Why do we find it funny? I think that's probably born of our, need to survive and the 300,000+ years of human evolutionary development. So the point is, your best instincts might tell you that you should feel or act or do this way. But the best of your logic might tell you something else. The best of your spirit. And what do I mean by spirit? Of course, I mean your thinking process itself, what's going on up here. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's where I'm at with it. So what does this hammer mean to me in the end? I mean, you could wear any symbol you want, but this hammer gives me permission to be loyal to the Catholic Church. I have complete permission to be loyal to the Catholic Church without having to believe in anything that they're telling me. I'm allowed to participate in the rituals without believing in a word of what they're telling me. In order to be a Christian, you have to believe in the resurrection of Jesus. I honestly think the best Christians are ones who are St. Thomas-like Christians. They don't believe in the resurrection. You have to show me, because that's just that. I think they make the best Christians. Ones who are just simply focused on, this guy has a flat tire. I wonder if I should help him. He's a mechanic, it looks like. He'd be all right. He's right next to a gas station. He keeps going. He should probably stop that vehicle. Anyway, what was I thinking? So, the hammer is telling everyone that I'm trying to practice the true religion. I'm trying to have the best set of political beliefs. I'm trying to have the best set of understanding of the past. I'm trying to make the best decision for my life about how I can make the future better for all of us. And I can run my mind through all kinds of fantastic understandings with this understanding of reality. Like, and one example might be like, if you hurt someone who is innocent, the future is going to be great for everyone else. But if you don't hurt this one person that's innocent, things are going to be terrible and chaotic and awful for everyone else. And it's like, well, don't hurt the person that's innocent. If we live in a world where you have to make a choice of hurting someone's innocent in order for the creation to continue, then I don't want this creation to continue. You know what I mean? I mean, that seems to defy all logic, but that's exactly how I look at it. I mean, I could go on and on and on about that. So ultimately, I want to, do we need to worship God? Do we need to serve him? No. I mean, I'm sure God is a God of love and wants you to maximize your freedom and come up with all kinds of cool and interesting and fun things to do. But I'm going to also hold on to the axiom that there are things that are good and things that are bad, and things that you don't know if they're good or bad, and you're trying to figure that out. And a lot of things that seem good maybe aren't. A lot of things that seem bad maybe aren't. It's a confusing world. Maybe so confusing that even God isn't sure how to judge it. It's so complex and so deep, and so maybe that's what, is happening. He's listening to what we have to say. I think this kind of thinking was in the New Testament, probably in the Old Testament, where it's like, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. That spirit of Father, forgive them, they know not what they do, as he's dying on the cross, as he's leading up to die. That very same spirit came over Louis XVI when he was beheaded in the French Revolution. And I don't, when I look at that story, I don't think we should have killed Louis XVI. Isn't that interesting? I see myself as a direct descendant of the French Enlightenment. I do. I see myself as exactly that. And it's like, well, should we have, killed Louis XVI? I don't think so. You know what I mean? But I love how he sat there and he forgave the people of France before he was executed. This is the power of the New Testament in our lives. The power of the New Testament in our lives, even though it is not the Word of God, and it certainly contains many things that are untrue. It can certainly contains things that are interesting and worthy of thinking about. What's one of the bigger ones? It's like, Jesus will say something like this. He says, anyone who looks at a woman with lust in his heart anyone who looks at a woman with lust in his eye has already committed adultery in his heart. And I mean, there's all kinds of ways I can fix that one up and make that completely an acceptable statement. It's basic. If someone is thinking about girls and lust and that kind of thing all the time, then they become very weak. They become kind of like icky. Girls aren't going to want that guy. The guy that girls want is going to be the guy who can do things, who can figure things out, who's smart, who's strong, and has good relationships with other people. And the way to have those things is to uncloud your mind from things that don't help. And that's what I really think is happening with a lot of religions. There's like a religion, a good one, Islam, Catholicism, Judaism, etc. They probably all have some kind of like parabolic curve of what they can do for you. They do a lot of good for you, probably at first, because they help you to organize your life and find rituals that follow that are helpful to you. You're showing others your loyalty to your people. Other members of your group are going to support you and love you as you get older. But then there comes a point where, it's like you walk around and you could be studying mathematics rather than, praying your rosary, and your rosary is going to tell you that the rosary is only effective if you meditate upon the mysteries. I got to sit there and I got to think about the Immaculate Conception, and I got to think about, come on, I should be studying math. I should be reading books on history. I should be, you know what I mean? So it's like there becomes a limitation to what these are, and again, I mean, one of those religions is true, or none of them are. But they all can't be. That's just this obvious. Do we live in a world where God will let people believe in something that's false for 1,000 years? Oh yeah, indeed he does. I use he only because I'm a Christian. I am a Christian. I'm an old, but I don't believe in any of the miracles of the Bible. None of them are true, but I'm a Christian. You can't tell me I'm not. I don't believe the Bible's the word of God, but I'm still a Christian. You can't tell me I'm not. Why? Why am I a Christian? Because I'm loyal, but I separate my loyalties from my search for objective truth. I separate my loyalties from my search for objective truth. Of course, I got to be loyal to my mom's Irish people, right? That comes first. I guess after that, my dad's Lutheran German people, right? So I got this European mix thing going on. Yeah, I guess, I can't shy away from the election, right? At some point, I got to talk about the election. I was not surprised that Trump won. I was surprised that he won the Electoral College. I have a friend of mine that rides me constantly because I announced with, some fervor that there's no way Trump can win the popular vote, but he crushed it in the popular vote, no doubt about that. Yeah, see, he lies all the time. So it's fruit of the poisonous tree in my mind. That whole image, he can't do good. In the end, it seems like he's going to do good, and I'm sure that he can really hurt a lot of people over here and make you feel better, but those old people over there are not going to feel that good about it. In the end, you never really can run creation simulation a second time to find out what it would have been like if we had a regular Democrat that just, Kamala Harris just took over. No, I mean, what do you do in your mind? Think about, I hear the number is 20 million illegal, undocumented immigrants in the United States of America. Now, what I want to do, is the kind of things that Ronald Reagan would have done, which is find some way to create legal status for all of them. You know what I mean? With the exception of those we clearly don't want to create legal status for. I mean, seriously, think about it. 20 million people are in the country undocumented. Make a list of them from number one person we don't want in the country, we hate, he's guilty of murder, guilty of all kinds of crimes, and list them all the way down to so somebody who's been undocumented in the country for 40 years. Everyone in the community loves that person. Is working hard, taking care of things, and has children that are U.S. citizens, and etc. And it's like, in 40 years in the country, why didn't you ever get your legal status in? I never had time. I was working. It's like, you'd be like, dude, here's your citizenship. Just shut up, So you list all 20 million people in order that way, and then let your mind flicker. Go through each person. Why are they here? And use your imagination. Come up with, imaginatory stories why each person's here. What most people are going to do is that process is too difficult to do. By the way, 1 second, 12 days to go through 1 million seconds. 12 days. So with 1 million people. So go somewhere in the middle there. People have ambiguous cases. People have been in America since 2005. Working hard. Never broke any law except that they overstayed their visas, or, they crossed the border when they weren't supposed to, or, but they never broken any laws otherwise, and they've always worked, and they've done good things. And it's like, what are those people going through right now? They're seeing, because, you people elected this monster. I didn't vote for him. You people elected this monster, right? Donald Trump's a monster. There's no question about it in my mind. But monsters, people like monsters. People like people who act tough. The alpha male, whatever. It's part of our genetic heritage to support that tough guy. People like winners. I didn't vote for him, would never, can't ever vote for him because he lies. And that right there, right off the bat, I can't support a guy like that. But there is other kinds of lying, and I'm not saying, I was a Bernie Sanders supporter way back in the day. There's other kinds of lying, and the other kind of lying is somebody who always says things that are technically truthful, but, is avoiding talking about things that need to be talked about. And that is definitely what, that was definitely a mistake that the Democrats made, leading up to this election. What am I thinking about now? Yeah, I mean, just let your mind flicker through those 20 million undocumented human beings. You know, right now they're like, they get this cowering sense. You know, think about the first one. Think about the second. Why are they here? Why did they come? Why are they here? Why did they come? What were they doing? What was going on? It's so obvious and clear to me. What we should do is not seek to deport all of them. Don't, come on, man. Be rational. Be reasonable. Come up with some kind of, pathway to legal citizenship or pathway to legal status for all work permits and things of that sort. Bring them out of the shadows. They can easily, when a crime happens, they can easily talk to the police and not have to worry. Things of that sort. It's so obviously what we should be doing. Deportation of 20 million people is just, it's horrendous and barbaric. And then, you imagine he wants to get his entire cabinet together without Senate confirmation, just use the recess appointment clause in the Constitution. The recess appointment clause was not intended for this situation. That's obvious. But again, it would be technically illegal for him to do it. That's what the number one thing you have to look out for. He's a norm breaker. He's going to break every norm that we have. And I guess breaking norms, like pardoning the January 6th rioters. He obviously should not do that. But he did campaign on it, and he did win the election, so it's like, go ahead, pardon your January 6th rioters. Want to make some of them cops, too? Make them the new FBI officers. It's like, my God, you see, he's got the legal right to do a lot of things. He's a very powerful human being right now. I oppose him. I'm not on his side. I think America made a huge mistake, and I think the reason why America made that huge mistake is because of propaganda. Because a lot of Americans were lied to continuously and constantly made confused about what's really happening. So, it is what it is. Keep watching. The number one thing you got to look for is when Trump starts doing things that are blatantly and obviously illegal. When that starts to happen, some judge makes a decision he doesn't like, he doxes the judge and the judge's house burns down to the ground because from some MAGA supporters. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff starts happening, then it's like, I guess I don't have the wall protecting me anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't have this beautiful American system. I never had to worry about it. I had to, stay focused on the things that I had to do, and the system is going to take care of me. It's going to, pave my roads and build my schools and do all the things that I need to have done. I don't have to worry about knowing a lot about medicine because doctors got that, and I have a way to go see doctors. But I take care of the things I got to take care of, And this beautiful American system based on freedom, it just scares me that he's going to wreck that. I hope I'm wrong. God, I hope I'm wrong. I even pray I'm wrong. I don't think prayer works. And it very well might be that from God's perspective, he doesn't even know. You know what I mean? From God's perspective, he doesn't even know. From God's perspective, I have no idea, what God is thinking, but I can do my absolute best to try to use the best of my imagination, the best of my thinking to create my best approximate understanding of reality and make the best decisions I can in light of what is actually transpiring. And so, so what does the hammer mean again? The hammer means I'm trying to practice the best religion, follow the best philosophical principles, and try to implement the best set of possible political outcomes that I can. Ones that they're as good for everyone as you possibly can make it, where you leave no one behind, you care about everyone. Everyone matters in this world just as much as everyone else. Surely if there's an all-loving God looking at this world, he must think that way about the people of this world. Nobody is other to God, right? loves everybody. And you have to implement policies and go in directions where that's true. It doesn't mean that sometimes you don't have to go to war. You don't have to, sometimes you got to drop bombs on people you don't want to drop bombs on. I get that. You know, it took a long time for me to see through all the complexities there. But, you know, you try. Anyway, I guess I'm done with this video for today. I wanted to get my walk in and wanted to say some stuff. Love y'all.